Welcome to the FSB York and North Yorkshire podcast. All roads lead to business support and, of course, to York and North Yorkshire. Welcome to the York and North Yorkshire FSB podcast series supported by City of York Council's economic growth team. We know that many small businesses and the self-employed are on an ever-twisting, unnerving and uncomfortable road, and we're here to smooth out those bumps and turns with expert advice, insight and inspiration. The FSB are experts in business since 1974 and are the UK's #1 support organisation for the self-employed and small business owners. Let us help you achieve your ambitions. To talk to us about membership, go to www.fsb.org.uk/join us, and for more information about support from City of York Council's economic growth managers, go to www.york.gov.uk. Today I'm speaking with Jenny Herrera from the Good Business Charter, which is an accreditation scheme for responsible business behaviour with 1,200 members operating UK-wide. Alongside founder Julian Richard, Jenny led the drive for York to be the UK's first Good Business Charter city. Jenny's passionate about businesses behaving responsibly and treating their workers, suppliers, customers and the planet well as providing effective solutions to help people in UK poverty. She grew up in York and is a chartered accountant and a working mum. Hi Jenny, thanks for joining us. Tell me a little bit more about you and a little bit more about the Good Business Charter.
Thanks, Carolyn. It's great to be here. So the Good Business Charter is an accreditation scheme over 10 areas. So we have 5 around employees, real living wage, fairer hours, employee wellbeing, employee representation and diversity and inclusion. Then, of course, we've got environmental responsibility, paying your fair share of tax, customer commitment, ethical sourcing and prompt payment. And really the idea behind it and where Julian Richard was coming from, who founded it, was to bring together all these different aspects of responsible business behaviour, because actually it really matters to consumers. In fact, it really matters to those who are looking for work. A lot more people now are wanting to work for a responsible employer, but crucially, they don't know who they are. And you can put all sorts on your website, but actually, what we've put in place is a framework that guides how you act responsibly. I've worked with Julian for about 12 years now on different charity ideas he's had. One in York that the Archbishop of York, former Archbishop of York, John Sentamu, set up. And then he had an idea about one for victims of antisocial behaviour. But this was the one that he said, Jenny, this is the big one. This really can make a real difference. And so I got involved.
So it's an additional tool in businesses' toolkit. So it helps them to grow their business, helps them to attract more customers, and also helps them to recruit staff.
It really is. We felt that people want to have some kind of third-party credibility that they are being responsible, and that's what the Good Business Charter accreditation gives to them. But what I don't think I'd anticipated is also how much a lot of businesses who want to be responsible need a sort of framework to help communicate that internally to their workforce, externally. And the Good Business Charter has really provided a way to do that in a concrete way. And you wouldn't believe how many. You have to meet all 10 minimum standards. So how many can perhaps do 9 of them, but, oh yeah, they don't pay their suppliers promptly or something like that. And it's just helped put the focus all the time, whatever challenges you're facing, how can you do this responsibly?
All about better business. So Julian's motivation for this, he was a retailer himself and he decided to start this movement. Could you tell us a little bit about that process? And also, of course, people will want to sign up, so tell us how they can get involved.
Yeah, so Julian has a chain of hi-fi shops, about 50 of them across the country. And to be honest, they are well known for the incredible customer service they give. Sometimes he does these webinars and someone will be on the call and say, 30 years ago, I bought a hi-fi and it still works today. But Julian has always been passionate about giving good customer service, but he's also totally understood that employees will give good customer service if they themselves feel valued. And so those two things have always gone hand in hand. And he just feels very passionately about these things, but he's also seen that they work in practice. And he will tell you that he has been through some tough times with the kind of industry that he's in. around challenges with all the online, but he is stuck to the stores because people need to come in and to be able to give that experience. So he calls it The Richer Way. He wrote a book many, many years ago, which just sets out what he would say is just basic common sense, how to treat your staff so that you get retention. His level of stock that goes misplaced, I can't remember the technical term for it, is such a small percentage because the staff feel valued, they have holiday homes, there's all sorts of great perks that he gives. But he's also passionate about paying taxes. He just feels like, well, yes, I've been successful as a businessman, but it's the state has paid for the education of my workers and the infrastructure so that we can deliver and receive the stock. So he really sees it all in the round and has been so passionate about it, and just felt like there wasn't really a clear way that brought them all together. There's lots of brilliant and individual accreditations like the Living Wage Foundation, like the Fair Tax Mark, but he felt like actually consumers, people on the street, they want them to be responsible across all of these things. And I think we really saw that as well in the pandemic, where people were appalled that companies were being bailed out but don't pay their taxes. And we also appreciated how dependent we became on some of the lowest paid workers in our country. So it all sort of brought in together. We launched just before the pandemic, worst time to launch, but actually we were there, we were ready, and we were responding to all these particular needs. For businesses who are thinking, oh yeah, well, this sounds like a no-brainer. We care about all this stuff. We're committed to it. We've made it super simple and accessible to join the Good Business Charter. You need to go onto our website where it's a self-certification that you work through. Then we will then do some background checks and get in touch with you and hopefully be able to accredit you. And if you're looking at one area thinking, I'm not sure if what I do is enough, then get in touch. Let's talk it through and see how we can support you on your responsible business journey.
Now, smaller businesses might be a little bit put off applying, but I know Good Business Charter's flexible, suitable for all sorts of businesses. Indeed, we at FSB, we helped make it small business friendly from the get-go. So who can get involved and how? And I must ask, why 10 pillars?
So the Good Business Charter is open to all. Really, from the very beginning, Julian wanted to make sure it was also accessible to charities as well as businesses. And actually, we launched from 10 employees up, but we soon realised actually there was loads of sole traders who wanted to join. There was loads of micro businesses. And really the game changer for us was partnering with FSB on creating our streamlined version, which is available for all organisations up to 50 to do. And it's got the same robust level with the questions, but they're more applicable to small businesses and they work better in that framework. And that's really, of our 1,200 members, over 1,000 of them are small businesses. And we're really proud of that. And do you know what? We have different get-togethers with our members, virtual really, usually, but they have, some small businesses have the most fantastic ideas, especially something like diversity and inclusion, how they're making sure that their place is an inclusive place to work, that some of the big businesses could learn an awful lot from our small ones.
Absolutely. We definitely know the value of small businesses and that social value that they bring and the flexibility, particularly for workforce. So that's great to hear and really good for them to be able to get this accreditation, which is free of charge for them to gain in the first year.
Yes, it's free in the first year. Really, Julian Richer is funding this startup, these years of startup. And so it's free for the first year and only £25 a year afterwards for small businesses. So very, very accessible. You asked me about the 10 pillars. So Julian managed to bring the CBI and the TUC together when the GBC was designed. So we had the voice of the workers, we had the voice of business, and really they looked together. Julian knew he definitely wanted their real living wage. He was passionate about that. We knew we needed certain areas covered. But to be honest, I think it just got to a sense, well, 10 is a sensible number. You don't want to have like 73, just keep it clear. And we just launched it to see how things fit in. And it's just been great to see that different areas of being responsible slot into the different areas, even when it comes to how paying your tax is all part of investing in your community, and actually some of the ideas around how you can really engage locally with your community comes as you give your employees a voice and hear their suggestions. And it's just been fantastic to see the way that they all interlink with each other and bring different people together.
It's great to have that framework, because I know that a lot of small businesses are already doing lots of these things. And as you say, they may be doing 8 of those things, and they might want to just add a little bit to certain areas of their business in order to achieve the 10. But that process for getting the framework and working through it is really straightforward through your website. So it's a really, really great thing to be involved with. And, we have a really warm community, particularly here in York, because you've driven that push for York to become the UK's first Good Business Charter city. And that's an amazing achievement, and credit to our businesses, really.
Yeah, it's just been so great to see businesses join and be part of a community, not just I've got the accreditation and this is what it means to me. No, I am now along with like-minded businesses who care about this, and we're learning together. Just this morning I was doing a webinar on EDI, and there's so much to learn about diversity and inclusion. It's moving so fast. Never mind net zero, ethical sourcing. They're massive topics. And really, what the Good Business Charter does is says there's a minimum standard that you are committed to these, but we need to go on a journey together. We need to learn from one another. We need to share best practice. We need to look at what other resources are out there, like the FSB, with all that you provide, because that's how we're going to push one another to be the best that we can be. It's been just great here in York, because I grew up in York, and it was when I talked to the Government Department for Business that they were the ones that suggested we look at a place-based scheme. It wasn't necessarily in our mind from the beginning. And we thought, well, let's try here in York. Julian's Yorkshire-based as well, so we connected with the university, with the council, but also to be able to bring our partners together like FSB, CBI, TUC, and just have that basis together. And then just see all these small independent businesses being able to connect in this way. It's so exciting, and the energy and the momentum coming off that has been really good. And it is an example for other places to follow. And just this morning I had communication that another place may be following suit soon.
York leads and others follows. What can I say? But that is really good that we've been a trailblazer as a city here. And it is a really exciting time for York and North Yorkshire as we see a devolution deal come to our region. And I really see that Good Business Charter can be a huge part of that. You've talked a little bit about what you love about the business community here, and what's so special about being based in York for you?
Obviously, we love the fact that we're not London-based. I think that's a really important part of we may have our registered office is Richer House in London, but the team aren't based there. We're all remote and all up north of London. But I think to be in a place where there's just such a community already working together, and I know a lot of that was strengthened through the pandemic, and just to see that continue and have things like the Good Business Charter to gather around, I'm excited about how that can extend then to North Yorkshire and just widen it, be the first GBC county. That would be just fantastic. And it's a great size, isn't it? We're not, somewhere like York wouldn't necessarily have the budget to do some great design their own charter, and that's where we really felt that this was a good connection. Plus with the universities and the work that they're doing with entrepreneurs, it's enabled us to look at both the big businesses like Aviva, but also all these entrepreneurs coming through the universities and just connect them all in. And of course, York, with its tourist background and all the shops and hospitality, our vision in the long term is that as you walk down a street, you'll see GBC stickers on the accredited organisations, and they'll be the busy ones. They'll be the ones with the queues, because people want to support and shop in responsible businesses, and the ones that don't will be empty. And somewhere like York, you can really visualise that because of the size and because of the industries that are important here.
And it is a small business-led city, 7,000 small businesses here. As you say, lots of entrepreneurs, a really exciting, vibrant small business market. So that's great that we've achieved that city accreditation, and that lots of members are getting involved and joining the Good Business Charter and getting that accreditation too. You chat to your members regularly. What are some of their current sort of market challenges, I guess, and how do you turn those into opportunities with them? That's what we're about at FSB, and I know that's a value that Good Business Charter has as well.
So one of the big ones at the moment is staff recruitment. So recruitment and retention, obviously we're in a very tight labour market, and that's causing huge challenges. And there's such an opportunity by communicating your your real commitment to being an inclusive workplace, but caring about the planet, caring about people. And I think what we're seeing with them is that, use that when you're putting out job applications, explain that you're GBC accredited so that people appreciate what exactly you're doing. Make sure it's on your website because more and more people care about this, and they can be more picky at the moment because there are more jobs out there for them to choose from. So that's certainly been one area. Another key area, which is something we've certainly championed with FSB around prompt payment, is the fact that if you've been paying your suppliers promptly and you have a good relationship with them, then it makes you more resilient when there is a challenging time and when you may have to negotiate and you might be struggling to pay. But if you've always been such a prompt, faithful payer, you've just got much better relationships with your suppliers. And so much of this stuff just makes good business sense. It's not just the right thing to do, but it actually makes good business sense. There's obviously also huge challenges around sustainability, and I think businesses are still trying to get their head around what that looks like. Each sector's very different, and they're going to need a lot of support in the years ahead on that.
Absolutely. We have a sustainability hub, and the Growth Hub, the York and North Yorkshire LEP Growth Hub, also have lots of resources there, and I know that's a big part of Good Business Charter as well. Businesses seem to worry about getting started, and I think that'll be similar with the accreditation from yourselves, perhaps. What would your advice to them be? I would always say just make a start and get going with it.
Yes, that was certainly what I would say as well. Start small and start now. I was asked what the pitfalls are sometimes in sort of your campaign to be a responsible business. And there's two things really I'd say. One is you try and do too much too quickly. You're like, I've got to be amazing at diversity and inclusion and I've got to get to net zero now. And you start doing everything at once. And then all the other things of your normal day-to-day business take over and it all just falls apart and everyone feels like this was just not worth it. Whereas if you take one thing bit by bit. But the other area we've seen is the importance of embedding it. So don't have it be just say your business has got, 8 people. Don't make it just one person's job, because if that person leaves, then it just falls off the radar again. It needs to be embedded through everything you do from the top down as to how are we going to act responsibly. It doesn't mean that there aren't still tough decisions to make, but how are we going to act responsibly in this particular situation, in this challenge that we're facing, and it become part of the whole organisation. And then it does naturally, you'll be looking each month, okay, what else can we do? How can we push ourselves a bit further in this particular area? We send out monthly newsletters, and that alone just is a nice prompt, like, oh yeah, what have we lost? Is it going off our radar, or are we still being really intentional about how we care for people and planet alongside what we're doing as a business?
It's that mission and culture, isn't it? Building it into everything you do as a business, but also everything we do in York as a city. And as you say, as a region, we have that potential here if everyone's working towards the same mission and that good business and that responsible business way of working and way of thinking, I guess.
Yeah, it's a really great opportunity to just champion all these really important things. And let's face it, with all the news at the moment, we just need to focus on some good stuff, on having a greener economy, on growing well, on caring for people, especially in the cost of living crisis. It's more important than ever, the S in ESG, as they say, that the social side, caring for our employees, making sure that there is reasonable adjustment for people who've come from different backgrounds or have got a disability. There's a lot, and it can feel overwhelming. And that's why we're no experts. As an accreditation scheme, it would be impossible for us to be an expert on all of our 10 components. But what we do is we connect in with the organisations that can give expert advice, and then we can signpost our members to them. And I think that's an exciting thing. And as you come alongside other businesses, you realise that we're all all on this journey and we're all finding different things challenging, and let's support one another. Let's look at what networks are out there that can help us in a particular area. And we want to just hear the stories as well. We want to champion case studies. We want to look at the impact to inspire more and more people. This is about keeping the momentum going, because out of the pandemic, it was all about build back better. Let's not lose that. We need to be building back better. We need to put good business as mainstream so that we can get to the point that if you're not behaving responsibly, you shouldn't be doing business at all.
I get that the theme of this podcast series should have been linking and networking and community, because we thought it was all about business advice and support, but actually that's been a really strong theme from all my guests throughout. But I'll finish now and just ask you one more question, and it's a tough one, I'm afraid. And you're only allowed one. So what is your top tip as a business leader, a local business leader, Jenny, to share with our listeners?
It is a difficult one. My top tip, I think it's got to be to do something. So many times we've got things whirring around our head, all these different things we could do, and it's best just to choose one and start now. And then, and some things don't work, and then you just ditch them and try something else. But if we just spend time thinking about the things we could do and we never make a step forwards, then of course we'll never know.
So take action today. Stop listening to our podcast and take action in your business. That's a great way to end. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Follow us at FSB North Yorks across our social channels for more business support from your local FSB team, and signposting to our wide range of partners, including funded support programmes and free one-to-one local business advisor support across York and North Yorkshire.
FSB. FSB.